Welcome back to another episode of the Survivor Day After podcast. And if you can't tell by now, there's only one host right now. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but Ryan has done what most of the cast has done so far on this season, and he has quit the podcast. He is not taking the J Maya boots very well. And yeah, it might be the end of the podcast. I mean, it's Jay Maya is the catalyst to completely destroy this facet of the Survivor podcasting network. So this is um pretty crazy. It's hard to even really fathom this breaking news right now. It is wild right now to be a day after podcast fan, just all it took was the elimination of J Maya to completely and absolutely annihilate everything. It's oh, wait a second. Okay. Ryan, welcome back. uh Yeah, I heard you're not taking this very well.
The universe loves finding new ways to fuck with me. And this entire episode was how can we fuck with Ryan and just raise his hopes and fuck them over at every single turn. But
Oh,
god damn it, it was one of the best tribal councils we have probably ever seen in Survivor history.
yeah.
But like that's what I don't know whether to be impressed that the universe is like, hey, you lose Shay Maya, but we're gonna do it in the epic way possible, or no, it's like, haha, Ryan, we're going to make sure that you never follow your heart again, and we're gonna do it in the most brutal fucking way possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I was so I thought JMI was going home for a while, honestly. Like even coming into the episode, I was like, it's either JMI or Sifu. Sifu was on the winning tribe, so or the team, so he's safe. But then so much of the narrative started coming back to Caleb, and I was like, they have had this like storyline set up previously was everyone knew that Caleb is playing this game socially. Um, so when that tribal starts going, I'm like, I feel like it's J Maya, but like also it's right here for Caleb. Like it seems like I don't know who's voting J Maya in that first vote right there because it seems so like okay, no, it just totally makes 100% sense to take out Caleb there.
It did. Um, it did, but I forget what the statistic is for 1 in 6. How much of a percentage chance? It's less than 20%.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure how time works because if you remember, if any of you seen the Flash movie, time goes forward and backward at the same time. So since I chose Jay Maya and I've been so hardcore on Jay Maya, it has caused ripple effects in the past where, Caleb did pull shot in the dark and got safe just to mess with me.
Yeah.
It was just like,
You were
damn.
so close to getting your first pick to the merge. So close. This is the first time on our podcast.
It was gonna happen to me, but good God, at least it wasn't a boring elimination.
Yeah, it was. I will say I loved this episode. I thought this episode was honestly like one of the best of the season, new era. Um, it was wildly entertaining.
Yeah, like I said, I think this is like a top five all-time tribal council,
Yeah,
just with how crazy everything was,
yeah,
how this was the first time the shot in the dark actually mattered in the sense of like, yeah, last season, it was played by two players. One was granted safety, but they didn't really need it.
yeah,
If anything, it just made their votes ambiguous or like where their travel lines were ambiguous.
yeah,
So there was that. But so like this was the first time. Of course, it was also the first time it was ever used and it worked. And
Yeah.
then it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that I think that's what really made it crazy. I was watching this with friends, and we were jumping out of our seats on the
I
couch
was
because,
pacing back there. I was pacing in my thing. I'm like, holy shit,
yeah,
holy shit.
it was a tense, dramatic moment, and then to see just Caleb after Caleb after Caleb, and then I'm thinking like, okay, did maybe Emily like have one stray vote on to Jay, and she
No.
also voted Caleb.
Well, she didn't want to be out of the numbers, and it was kind
Yeah,
of funny how like, oh, that should just kind of just straight up. I don't know how that's gonna play a factor into things later on for Caleb. It's like, oh, can I really trust Emily? Because like she
yeah.
totally could have had my back,
Yeah,
even
it's
though
hard to say. I mean, I think Caleb right now is pretty much dead man walking unless he wins immunities.
he's target number one, two,
Yeah.
three, and like zero, because I feel we're going like he surpasses the one and he's
Yeah.
higher up than one because it's like he should have gone home. They
Yeah.
realized in tribal council, he was like he didn't even hide the fact that he was yeah, I'm like the biggest fucking threat here.
Yeah.
Uh
Yeah. And I will say when he actually calls out Jay in that moment too, that's when the tribal council like just went crazy. Like it
yeah.
became it was because they started trying to do a little more of the analogies, in the tribal council. But then whenever you get into the actual meat and potatoes of the episode of like what's
Mhm.
going on, like that's the tough thing. Like seeing D freak out because now she's getting called out also by
Yeah.
Caleb is
Like Caleb was like, "Oh yeah, the Reba ladies, like they're a dangerous trio."
yeah.
Man, but let's start from the beginning. Because obviously with the whole J Maya thing, we just kind of had to get that. We're gonna obviously touch on it later,
Yeah.
but good God. Anyway, so we start off, and I mean, first we start off the recap, and it's just Kendra going nuts in the recap in the
Yeah.
beginning.
They really felt like that was what we needed to get right off the bat.
This is like I said, this is the total drama season of Survivor, and I feel like even more so with this episode.
Yeah.
Uh like the plot point, but and then Kendra is like, she's pretending like, yeah, I still want to work with you guys, stuff like that. And then her confessional is like, I want revenge. And she's going wide-eyed,
Yeah.
crazy-eyed, and I'm like, whoa. It's just like, oh my, she just really she's out for blood. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh gosh. Yeah. Um, and then yeah, what were your thoughts on when we opened up and caught up with Bello?
Yeah, it was interesting to kind of see, how they were going to handle that whole Kendra situation too, because I think Kendra handled it pretty well. Like
Yeah.
she was very like, I'm just going to take this on the chin. I hate that they turned on me, but I am going to let them think that everything's good.
Yeah.
Which is the right way to do it. You should, outbursts are never good after a tribal council because that just creates the like guaranteed like divide in the sand. Whereas at
Yeah.
least with this is like, oh, okay, maybe I can work with them, but also it's not like a big deal if I turn because they've already done it to me.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so like and it's always those things where you never know if you're guaranteed to go to tribal again.
Hmm.
Especially because like, Reba went the week before or a few days before. So it was like one of the things like it wasn't like a Lulu situation where it was like you're damn near guaranteed to go next time because of the Lulu curse.
Hmm.
But I know someone at tribal council was like, "Oh, after tonight, the Lulu curse will be lifted." And gosh, did it lift a little too early for my taste? It was,
Yeah. uh,
but anyway,
yeah.
um,
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we really were so close to having it just be like only Emily is the last remaining Lulu. Every other Lulu goes home pre-jury. Like we were so close to that.
no, the universe was like, "No, Ryan, suffer." But anyway, speaking of Lulu, we're going to the new Lulu where, lo and behold, they're idol hunting, and yeah, uh, we find out that it's Bruce who finds the clue, the Beware Advantage,
Mhm.
and he has to find the idol like in the shelter and do a kind of lickety split because like doesn't know where Katora is. And then also the merge boat comes. So like he really needs to find it now. Otherwise, depending on how cruel the producers want to be, technically speaking, he just doesn't have the vote for the rest of the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it says that once you get to the uh merge, that I think you get your vote back. I think that is in like the rules. I just don't think
I would
they.
hope so. I would hope
Yeah.
so. But just imagine losing your entire vote
Yeah.
just until the end of the game because of that condition.
Yeah, exactly. That I mean, yeah, they have to have a built-in device to not let that happen.
Bro, it'd be kind of fucked
What?
if you know someone who has one of these beware things and you straight up ruin their activation requirement for it. Like let's say if it's the bead thing and like let's say oh you know about it, you chuck your bead, you chuck
Yeah.
one of the beads into the ocean.
Yeah, I mean,
Or yeah, or you
it
just
could be accidents. Like honestly, like some people might just accidentally lose their beads on like some of the hikes or something. They're taking it and falls out of their pockets.
but
Things
like
happen.
on purpose though.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
but that's like my evil side thinking right now.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
no,
Yeah, speaking of evil thinking over petty things, the my favorite part of this episode was the Austin rivalry revenge story for the sandwiches, which has
yeah,
become his story. I think it is.
yeah.
He had a vendetta against Jay, and I think that's really what sends her home.
The the
Is that.
total drama, the total drama thing is just like this would be like a total drama thing. It was like my sandwich. Uh, like good God.
It's so
Yeah.
funny. I was laughing so hard. Every time I heard sandwich come out of Austin's mouth, I was rolling.
This man, he was out for blood. And it's like one of the things where it's, I mean, like it made sense. And when they finally did go into the merge thing, but before we touch on that, I did want to say no one on Bello found their idol,
Mhm.
which I wonder if they just straight up no one actually did or if it's a secret. Now, I don't think it's a secret
Yeah.
because they like to, let people know who has what when
Yeah.
they're playing.
Idols are pretty important. Even when they get voted out, they like to make the whole story of them not playing the idol.
Yeah,
So
I think they'll be like, "Oh, we're on an idol hunt," and then they'll make it ambiguous in the same episode if they find an idol. However, we've never really, apart from like the, Nasir thing of like, you know, him finding the idol and then having to say the passcode at the final, like the final time when he could say it to activate all three of the tribe idols. Besides that, it was more so like they've never really hidden the fact that someone has not found an idol
yeah.
before.
Yeah, exactly. Which, I will say I think they've been harder to find this season than previous seasons, like where they've been hidden, because normally it's been on the walking path, waist level. And you just kind of can look through the walking path and you might randomly find it.
Yeah,
But at least this time it felt like a little more off the beaten path. You had to really dig through some leaves and some trees. That wasn't you know,
yeah,
just right there for the taking. It wasn't at the camp. Remember that one time?
yeah.
Like it's a little better for it. So also I heard from the Brando exit interview that they had kind of like a don't go out and looking for the idol mentality, like that tribe. And I think it might have been a lot of Bruce, honestly. I think he's the one that they were kind of saying was like he kind of cultivated that energy, almost a Boston Rob energy. Um, so Interesting how Bruce is like the Boston Rob figure of the season.
He has been kind of he has been going out there with big dick energy.
Yeah.
But like in a sense of like, the fun uncle kind of big dick energy where he's like, I'm gonna be kind of like the leader and stuff. We've kind of also seen him you know, be a bit more of aggressive game player, which is
Uh,
it's just like polar opposite from what we saw. Grant, we didn't see much of him in 44, but it was
yeah.
like the polar opposite of the projection, perception,
Perception.
um, perception,
Yeah. Yeah.
perspiration, because it's hot here, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of more P things. Anyway, but
Yeah.
like the perception of him, like, he was this nice little, you know, not little, but like he was this
Yeah.
nice old dude.
Yeah, he was supposed to be normal. I think everyone's perception was that there were 3 normal people and 3 crazy people, and he was one of the normal people who was supposed to be,
Yeah,
like, working with, Helen and Sarah. And so it's so interesting now to see him on this season and be like, "Oh, he was a crazy person too that would have been working with Carolyn and Jam Jam so well."
yeah. But that's also the crazy thing too to think about is his like, like leadership mentality. And I don't want to say
Mhm.
villain, but he is giving like, sometimes it's my way or the highway kind of vibes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do think he's also a potential candidate. Say Caleb wins in immunity. I think he might have to play his idol to survive another tribal council. I mean, I don't know if he's this first target, but I mean, I think he's within the next 3 votes. He's going to be targeted.
I think so. Especially because next episode the tribes are going to be divided,
Yeah.
and that just so much plays into that of like, all right, where do the numbers lie? Who ends up on one thing? Who wins immunity? And who goes home first? Because even though it is first time we're doing this in new school, whether it's like if whoever loses first, the first person that gets eliminated just misses out on jury,
Yeah.
or because that would be dark,
Yeah, well,
honestly.
this that happened with Dwight in 43.
Yeah.
He was that merge boot in new school era that
Yeah.
didn't get the jury.
No, I get that, but like for the tribes to be divided, and let's
Yeah.
say, all right, let's say, and it's like, oh, whoever wins first, their tribe is guaranteed. Everyone can make the jury,
Oh,
but the
I see what you're
losing
saying.
tribe, one of you is going home, and one of you is missing out on jury,
Yeah.
like some
Man, I
all
can't
quiet on the Western Front kind of last minute shit. Like,
I don't know if that's gonna happen. I wonder if they're extending an extra jury person for the hope that we don't get an 8-1 vote. If it's a 9-1 vote, that's a totally different game, everyone.
no, I mean, like, it is curious how they might do it. Because that's like the one thing that kind of like threw me off because yeah, they've divided the tribes before and had several tribal councils, but they've always done it. But like, I do feel like this season, they are trying to break some norms of like new schools. So it is possible we get a 9-member jury this time around instead of the 8.
uh,
Um, so we'll see, we'll see. But when we do get to this beach, it does feel like it's tough to say where the lines kind of draw because it's like partially like, hey, let's be our tribe color strong with the 2 in the middle. But it was like, well, we actually have fractions here and there. And maybe we sacrifice J Maya just cause,
uh,
like, even though she's a number for us, just cause. Why
yeah,
not?
yeah. I mean, I think they had already decided that J Bai and Sifu were collateral damage for the Reba team.
Here's the thing. It's like Sifu, I understand more because, and I'm not just saying this because of the J Maya thing, but J Maya was legit being like Reba's biggest cheerleader when it came to things. Like never once in her like interviews or confessionals was she like, "Oh, I should turn against Reba."
Yeah.
It's feel like she was very laser focused on, oh, Sifu. So it's like,
Yeah,
uh,
Sifu's Reba, who knows? Maybe Sifu's more liked by Austin and Drew than the show's letting on.
I think Sifu is too entertaining to let go.
Yeah.
He's another total drama character. Just
Yeah.
he kind of,
Interestingly, he's such a huge character. He has the least amount of confessionals on the season right now.
I think he doesn't. I think it's like it's kind of crazy because I'm like, Sifu just has like that energy, and he just has that kind of like quotable stuff that
Yeah.
you're just kind of like drawn to him whenever he's on screen because it's like, oh,
Yeah.
is he going to be hopping around in slow mo? Oh, is he
Is
going to be
he?
like
Yeah.
what's he going to be doing? He kind of reminds me of my friend Damien. I don't know if you probably he went to AMDA.
I might know, but I can't. I don't know a Damien off the top of my head.
Top of your head. But anyway, but like he has kind of like this like positive energy and stuff. So like as soon as I seen Sifu, I like Sifu because he reminds me of a friend.
Yeah.
Not only
Yeah.
that, he's just entertaining to watch.
Yeah. I mean, he caused also a great scene this episode with everyone rocking out and yeah,
Bro,
the little grasshopper
stick
doing a little
bug.
dance.
That stick bug knew it was on TV. It was like, yeah, just
Yeah.
like dancing like baby Groot.
That was its 15 minutes of fame right there. It's someone needs to clip that and make that whole thing a shorts because that is just peak quality content right there.
Just I've never seen a stick bug dance before, and they were just like, honestly, MVP of the episode goes to the stick bug. Like
Uh
it's just straight up. Uh
yeah.
but no,
Yeah.
it was funny. Like we saw, Austin and Drew talk, and then we just hear the cheering in the background, and it's all because like the stick bug is just jamming out to like music that's not there. It's just like what? Yeah, very big highlight from this episode, I will say.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. I also wanted to get your thoughts on the fact that they use Kelly in a confessional bashing Bruce, and they didn't use Katura for us, which I felt was when it was happening, I was like, this is such a Katura confessional right now that Kelly is giving.
I'm surprised that it didn't say Couture at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
Because Survivor has made those mistakes before, and like
Yeah.
they haven't gone back and fixed some of them.
Yeah.
Because when I did my rewatch back during 2020 of all the seasons up until that point, there were some times where certain contestants were mislabeled.
Yeah.
Um,
It does happen. I think even Kane had a mislabel.
Kane had one, yeah.
Yeah.
And he made a joke on his Instagram story. It was like, when you're playing such stealth of a game, even the
Yeah.
editors don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, which is crazy that Bruce is using Kane as like name dropping Kane.
Yeah. Hey, we love Kane.
Yeah, he's
We
great.
love
He's
Kane.
great.
Um, but yeah. But yeah, I feel like when everything kind of came together, and it was like one of the things, and this is like all the different kind of like fractures that were coming. I feel like this gameplay was definitely playable, and it did really come back down to which 6 or 7 people were going to be vulnerable.
Mhm.
Because like it wasn't just like Bruce was also like kind of throwing Caleb's name out a little bit prior to the episode as well, or prior to the challenge as well. It's like, hey, you just got it's like, no, let's stay Bella strong. Like Caleb, he's in the middle. They were throwing Emily's name, like, and even at the beginning of the episode with Lulu, we did see a little bit of like, oh, hey, Katura's kind of out on the outs because, hey, where is she? Let me know if she's coming. I don't want her to know we have an idol.
Yeah.
Things like that. So yeah, like it really just came down to who ended up on one team and which team won immunity.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And yeah, Katora made the right decision. I mean, I thought it was the right decision too. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, there's a chance that the puzzle does. I think the other tribe might have been a little better at the puzzle phase, but I just think that it wasn't the toughest of puzzles, and so
No.
I think you could easily send some people to go like I think as long as you have the physical side, you're probably going to win the challenge.
Well, I mean, like, I will say that the pictograph, by nature, that puzzle was easier to accomplish because it is a pictograph,
Yeah,
like, because it's like, well, the two knight heads are going to go together. Because it's
yeah,
trickier when it's just like a design or a lot of puzzle pieces where it's like bits and pieces where they're the same image but different pieces of it,
yeah,
as opposed to things that are like separate images all together and then you kind of fit the border. Maybe that
yeah,
was what they were kind of doing to make, oh, if you're doing two different puzzles, but they're both relatively easier,
yeah,
especially because you solve the thing with the pictograph. So it's like,
yeah, and
yeah,
I think it's the fact that you have to have two puzzle people for the first puzzle, and then two people who solve it, and those are the kind of your you can't have like everyone working on
yeah,
the Rebus puzzle. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, the I think that's like what they thought, but it is like well, I think once you get like one or two of the phrases, it's like it's very easy to kind of solve it at that point. So
yeah, definitely. But yeah, I mean, like, I feel like if just one person from the blue thing is, it's like it just like those sandbags looked heavy. And
yeah,
it was like one of the things where it was a very strength thing. And now, and they kind of acknowledged it too. It's like, like you have a lot of like, athletic women on that tribe, but they're
mhm,
not like buff.
yeah,
Like we've had, or like, they're not like, bodybuilders or anything like that.
yeah,
So like, it is one of the things where, okay, if you have like, well, I mean, Drew, he has height and height can matter a lot in life, but it's something where okay he technically has more mass to use for force, but like you had Bruce, you had Sifu, you had Austin, and like with those three alone
yeah.
it was a pretty big like sizable thing of like okay a lot of the muscle went on that tribe and then the other tribe basically had Jake.
Yeah,
um
and that's not a great sign considering we've had 2 episodes of him passing out,
Yeah, and Caleb's good and stuff, but I would say
yeah,
like he's more slim fit as opposed to like,
yeah.
big muscles and
Yeah, he
whatnot.
he can carry challenges, but they have to be challenges kinda designed where one person can kinda do a bunch of things, whereas
Yeah,
this was a lot more everyone has to kinda contribute in massive ways, and you can't,
yeah.
you can't solo this challenge.
But I mean, I think that kind of makes sense for a challenge of this nature
Yeah,
in this state
definitely,
of the game because
definitely.
it's like if everyone has to earn their way to the merge, it makes sense that there's no sit out bench in the sense of like Katora's case is different because
Yeah,
like, that it's designed to be that way.
yeah,
But like in the sense of like, okay, everyone has an equal part throughout it except for like the puzzle. But I mean, like, usually when you're making a puzzle or something, you kind of just need two people. Everyone else can kind of like backseat direct a little. But I mean, with this one, it was a little different because they couldn't necessarily do that too much. But yeah,
yeah, yeah, and I hate to call out people on the challenge too, but Maya was really struggling getting through that mud obstacle at the beginning. Uh, they were pretty close for a while, and then it was her that kind of like basically let someone like lap her.
she is a very small woman.
Yeah,
Uh, and it's one of the things where I'm not saying it's one of the things where those ropes and shit is heavy. And
yeah,
also, like, the mud and stuff makes things worse. And, like, I don't know if J Maya actually tied her hair either, because someone said,
yeah.
"Ow, my hair." I think it was her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I can't remember. But yeah,
that
I mean,
that makes it worse.
yeah, we have seen people just straight up not be able to get out of the rope in the mud. Remember Carolyn? It was a little different rope mud situation,
Yeah,
but
Carolyn, it was like twisted and whatnot. Carolyn,
Yeah,
Noelle, and even with Noelle, it was different situation because it was partially due to the leg as well.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, like. I mean, granted, she wasn't like stuck. The thing is, it's like, you have to power through, but like, it was like a strength thing. It's just luck of the draw.
Hmm.
That played a big factor into this fucking episode. Luck of
Yeah,
the draw.
yeah,
Can you draw the right rock? Can you draw the right scroll?
yeah. This was really a game of Mario Party for Survivor right here. It was.
We've been, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Caleb got a lucky star for losing so many times tonight and managed to keep himself one tribal further.
Yeah. Like I said, it's really impressive how just good God. Um, but the blue tribe won and Katora chose the right. I mean, like I would have chose blue too. Like
Yeah,
you can kind of tell when Jeff was like, "Yeah, this kind of what do you think about this team?" and stuff like that. And I was like, "Yeah, we got a lot of the muscle." And then they were trying to think of a downside. It was like their downside wasn't that, "Oh, well, they have a lot of brain on that tribe." It was like, "Oh, but like that puzzle might be challenging."
yeah,
Because like obviously they didn't know like how difficult the puzzle was going to be, but like it's one of the things where okay, like they got Drew, they got some people with some smarticles on that tribe, so they're not like
yeah,
too worried. And like what gives you more time is you know pushing through with the strength and stuff like that in the beginning, so you can get your stuff.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so yeah, the challenge happens, and then the people who we had with not immunity, not in the merge yet, was Jake, Kelly, Caleb, Emily, Jay, and D. Right?
Yep.
I got all six of
Yeah, you
them.
got them.
Cool, cool. Um, yeah, and it did feel like we're losing a Lulu or Jay kind of gets thrown under the bus. There wasn't much talk about taking out Kelly as the only Bello, or I guess there's Jake too, but yeah, we didn't
Yeah,
think about getting rid of either one of those two, which
no.
uh
Which I mean,
interesting.
it's like if you're, I think they were. I think what could be the downfall of the Reba tribe was because they were so focused on J Maya. There's like, no,
Yeah.
J Maya, we just need to get rid of her. Um, but on the flip side, it's like, hey, Kelly doesn't want to work with you at all. Here's the thing. And here's what they didn't kind of take into consideration as well. And I'm not just saying that because Kelly was your winner pick,
Yeah.
but just from a strategic standpoint, it's like, hey, there's J Maya. And then there's also Caleb. Both want to work with us. And then it's like, if you remember that taco commercial, and then there's the little kid that's like, why not both in Spanish? And then he celebrated
Yeah.
because he was like, oh, yeah, we can have hard and soft shell tacos. It's like, you can have both because one, you get revenge on one of the people that, because Kelly wouldn't choose either or. So, modern standards, that makes her just as guilty. So, could have targeted her because of that. She's on the Bello, that weakens Bello. There were, like they were laser focused on the two when really they could have been like, "Oh, Kelly.
Yeah.
If they wanted to, have two numbers and have seven people instead of like now like five and
Yeah.
then maybe another one, maybe in
Yeah. Yeah.
Emily.
Yeah. I do think that that was Reba's downfall, honestly, is the fact that I think that was everyone's mistake was trying to take out a Lulu right here when Lulu can literally give you the guaranteed numbers, like you just had to work with them and and you could win.
Well, I mean, like that's kind of the thing too. It's like, well, if they're in the middle, and because he's playing all the sides, like I would say being in the middle isn't as safe as it was, I would
Yeah.
say in like the 20s or early
Pre
30s.
Kagiyan, I'd say.
Yeah. But like, being in the middle was a bit more the way to go. I'd say like the best example was like, Natalie Anderson. She's like the first one
Mhm.
that comes to mind when I think of like a great player that played from the middle.
Uh,
Um, But, like this day and age, people smell it from a mile away. And depending on your threat level, which Caleb, his was too high.
Yeah, he's
And
not
he,
managing it at all. He
no,
is.
he downright admits it, which is like,
Yeah,
okay, you're not going to fool anyone. So
yeah,
you might as well, I guess, own it.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's like guaranteed he doesn't make the ends, in my opinion. Like, we really have to see an Aussie level, like, just
yeah,
domination in terms of challenges in order for him to get to that point.
yeah. Which I mean, anything's possible,
Yeah,
but I don't
yeah,
know if that's quite the case.
yeah. This might be good that they're doing a double elimination in this next episode, though. If like he gets paired with Emily and they're able to get one or two people to vote with him,
mm,
maybe he can survive that and slowly make his way back in. Remember, Jam Jam was also almost eliminated last
yeah,
season in this spot. So it's very it could really go a lot of ways. Like the fact that you're getting targeted here doesn't necessarily mean you're always going to be the threat and the target. Like if you
yeah,
can like survive one or two tribal councils, like the whole game could shift in a different way that we don't see right now.
yeah. Um, and that's the thing, it's like very playable. So it was weird that they were just like limiting themselves to these options where it's like,
Yeah.
hey, get rid of one of the bellows. Um, but like, and going into the next one, and I think that's one of the interesting thing that kind of shakes up the thing is the splitting the tribe and like when it comes to Mergatory or when it comes to the separate tribal councils, it makes it interesting because it like really ruptures the game. I don't think there's really ever been a time where a key player from at least one of the tribal councils went home, or one that had like a lot of pull or influence, or it wasn't anything like, oh, there was something kind of major there, like there wasn't
Yeah.
two just like random goats that just went home.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean it is the perfect time in double eliminations to take out a potentially big player because you only need a couple people to agree with the plan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And so when they get it to the sanctuary,
Hmm.
everyone's vibing and everything. And yeah, they're kind of the debate of like, oh, Drew, or like Drew is like, all right, so what should we do? And then I was like, either J Maya or Caleb. And those were like two really the names. And Emily's name was thrown out a little bit, but it got like shut down right away.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
it seems like everyone pretty much loves Emily now, which is
yeah,
such a crazy.
yeah. Even Bruce was like, yeah, I'm cool with her, but I'm still gonna get my revenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was kind of like his vibe with it. But like, it's like enough days have kind of passed, and like I think she kind of explained it herself. And like people that do play devil advocate, sometimes they don't know how to turn it off.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so like, thankfully it hasn't bit her in the ass yet.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah, and with the talk how much Katura hates Bruce. I mean, if Emily gets the end, man, Emily is her hero, right?
Yeah, good God.
Um,
But yeah, that one was like obviously you're not gonna get to the merge and be like, yeah, screw you, we have this rivalry.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you're trying to work, and I think the fact that both Lulu people weren't on that merge feast created the like okay for them to want to target a Lulu in this situation
yeah,
because no one in that table was going to be upset with a Lulu name, and that's why I think
yeah.
Caleb and Emily came up here was uh the easy ones, and then Drew, obviously is okay with having their collateral damage BJ Maya out of that. So that was
I'm
like
just
his
so laser
that's his
fucking focused on it.
yeah.
That pisses me off too. I know uh
Yeah,
it's just like
you almost quit this podcast off the J Maya like
I'm not I'm in love. I'm not stupid.
yeah, Uh,
I did make a stupid. No. Anyway, we'll talk more about that elimination later. But like,
yeah,
I feel like this one it did play a lot with going back and forth with who it might be. I think that was the interesting thing too. Um, I think like sometimes when it's this divided, sometimes they add like a third person where it's like, oh, but what if it's really this? And then they get eliminated. But like as we watched it, it's just like straight up, it was just those two. And Caleb played his heart out,
yeah,
even being like totally exposing Bruce and his idol to that, like, alliance. And it's like, well, if that ever gets back to them, it's like, I mean, like he was firing on all cylinders, trying to do anything he could to, stay. And
yeah,
I mean, he only achieved it through sheer dumb luck.
yep,
But, like, hey, he had the instincts, knew that he didn't have the numbers, and was like, "Hey, I might as well play it
yeah,
because what else do I have to lose? I can't go home more than I already am.
yeah,
It's not like they eliminate me earlier in the game and I'm now officially the first boot for whatever reason. It's like, if you're going home in this mergatory spot, and especially because like I think he really fucked up that tribal council because like he was just straight up like, yeah, I'm the biggest threat, and he just could not recover from that,
yeah,
especially when he pissed off D, because it's like, okay, now you just kind of eliminated the shift is definitely going towards you, dude.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and I think it's good that he also made it a big public thing because I think if there wasn't a big public thing, Emily would immediately also be like put as the person who aligned with Caleb in this situation because if they were trying to make this secret move onto him and then he gets taken out or he plays a shot in the dark without any like seemable whiff of it, Emily immediately is like, "Oh, you told him our plan."
yeah,
But the fact that it was a big public thing, it made it clear that he was an option here. And the fact that then Emily votes for Caleb actually makes it so that their duo isn't as like shown as it could
yeah,
have been.
yeah, and I feel like that kind of works too. It's one of the things where things just worked out for him so well when it came to that.
Yeah,
And like, when you go into that's always kind of the tough thing about a thing where you legit have to write down with your handwriting and everyone kind of sees all the votes that are cast, unless, Jeff is like, hey, that's enough. But he only says that when, all the votes that remain are, for that one person.
yeah,
Like he doesn't, like he goes tallies the votes and he organizes them a certain way so that way he can read them off, you know. So yeah. Um,
yeah,
I guess like this time around, he's like, all right, which Caleb's do I want to show off first?
yeah,
Literally I can do it in any order. I don't have to put a J Maya thing in there or anything. But no, I feel that tribal council, and basically he when he pulled out the scroll and it said safe, you just saw like obviously my face was, or I was looking at J Maya and like she just felt so defeated in
she
that
she
moment.
she fell down as Caleb is up doing a dance in the
Yeah.
background.
And I'm like, oh God, this is like one of the worst ways to go.
Yeah,
And then the fact that it was like a unanimous decision to get rid of him.
yeah,
And it was say, like it was like, oh, okay. Cause like sometimes because right by my TV is my clock. Or like
mhm,
sometimes if I'm watching on my phone, I can kind of see, what time it is and whatnot. And so I'm like, oh, we're going to tribal council a little early. Oh, we're voting really early. Something's about to go down.
yeah,
I'm like, is it going to go in a tie? Because Austin said that he was going to sacrifice his vote so that way it becomes a full-fledged idol. And it just worked out for him because he's like, yeah, I can just do it because numbers and I'm safe.
yep.
And worst comes to worst, I just lose Jay Maya. Uh, Good God. But that was basically, I'd say like he probably had the easiest way to get that idol.
Yeah,
Um, there was basically like a he already had a advantage that forgave his him losing a vote. So it was like he restored his vote when he
yeah,
sacrificed it. And the next one he was like, oh well, it's gonna be like I'm fine with either person going.
yeah,
I'm not you know going home no matter what because I won invincibility. So like for him, he was, yeah, I'll just get rid of my vote again. Why not?
yeah.
Who am I saving it for?
Yeah, exactly. I think when you win immunity right there, it's pretty clear that you just sacrifice your votes. Like even if you lose an ally, like keep the
Yeah.
idol for deeper into the game.
Well, I mean, like the only like big ally he had there was D, and
Yeah,
other than but like D was never like
she was.
a
Yeah,
target. Yeah,
yeah. She's also in the Kelly J kind of just wasn't even talked about as a for consideration.
yeah. Or they were like, when someone brought it up at whatever point.
Yeah,
But yeah, but yes, this tribal council was fantastic. It just sucked
yeah.
because of the winner pick situation.
Yeah. I know your personal attachment, obviously. It's but also like we know this from some of our brand steel. Some of these shocking, heart-wrenching eliminations are some of the most entertaining ones.
But like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, this was then this season has had some doozies when it comes to tribal councils.
Yeah.
But like this Mergatory one topped all of them because it was just like, oh, there's this. They're scrambling because like Jeff is like, all right, we're gonna vote again. It's like, can you give us a few minutes? Like, fuck. Clearly everyone's vote is about to change here.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, this season's tribal councils are just leagues above better
S
than I think
tier.
anything
S
we've
tier.
seen. Yeah, it's great. And that's somehow with two quitters that happened in the season. Like that the tribal councils were still entertaining as heck.
But yeah, like, and even when the two quitters happened, it wasn't like they were entertaining quits. It wasn't just
Yeah.
like in season 21 where it was just like, yeah, we're not feeling it anymore. We're just gonna quit.
Yeah.
And that's basically how they both went out in that season. Where this one, it was kind of like, I'm kind of like sacrificing because like I don't feel like I want to eat. I'm not feeling comfortable. I want people, like there was a bit more emotion behind it.
Uh-huh.
And even with frick, what's his name? I'm already forgetting.
Sean.
Sean's elimination, where he made it about his husband and stuff like that. And while sweet, stupid.
Yeah. He even said afterwards that he regretted doing that. So
Yeah, because like we all know that you're not allowed to like leave,
yeah.
even if you're pre-merge.
Yeah, I don't
Like
think
the
he
only
knew about this role because
was just stupid.
he probably has only consumed watching it some seasons on TV, and that's the like he probably wasn't as in deep. I'm assuming with the super fan community where you like know all the intricacies about like what goes on behind the scenes. Because I feel like everyone knows that you're there. And so I don't know if they do pre jury trips anymore. I know that they didn't do that for 41 and 42 because of COVID reasons, like they just sent
Yeah.
them back. But I don't know if they brought that back, but still Sean's just gonna be not going back home for still it was like 5 or 6 days. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, like 5 to 6 days as opposed to 26 days. But
yeah, but you do lose quite a bit of money every time you're not there. So you should have at least tried to get
yeah, it's like you already made your way out there. I don't know. Like
yeah.
clearly, if I so people at home, if I'm talking about a celebrity crush and whatnot, clearly I'm single. If not, that's huge red flags there. But clearly my love life is not well. And I've never been in that point of like, I've never loved someone enough to be like, oh, we're married. So like it's one of those things that it is hard to like truly know, especially because like, I know we're kind of like covering ground from Sean's elimination, but it's like it's a whole other thing about like LGBT stuff where it's also really tough because like they have to go through so much stuff when it comes to finding love because it's one of those like defining trait of like, hey, I'm attracted to this and this is controversial and people riot in the street because they don't approve of my lifestyle. So it's like a whole different thing. And I don't know if we actually touched on that a bit more in that episode. So, I'm glad that we're bringing it up so we can like talk about it a little bit here.
Mhm.
But like, I feel like the quits this time around because of like those reasons, more so like I feel Sean was interesting because it was just so out of the blue and because of like
Yeah.
the, cultural significance with that. It's more like they're more justified and more entertaining and have more emotional ties than, two girls being like, yeah, I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
And I know
uh,
like even with Purple Kelly, it was the thing about like, oh, she wasn't allowed to wear stuff to keep her warm, things like that. But
yeah, which is a rule that now is changed. Now
yeah,
female players are able to bring actual clothing out there and not just bikinis.
yes, yes.
Because there was a point in Survivor history where they had to have the bikini girl who that was like just someone who's just always in a bikini. That
Made
was
her in a bikini the whole time,
yeah.
barely showed her on screen.
Yep. So was it really worth it, Survivor? Yeah. I mean, I
Evidently,
think they've learned their lesson.
yeah, we grow as a society, we grow as people.
Yeah.
But yeah, but yeah, that elimination, like it was well done, great TV moment. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a lot.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, but yeah, this is I think definitely the best tribal council we have gotten so far. New era season. I've said that now about like three tribal councils this season.
because they just keep topping themselves.
Yeah, it is definitely like the Brando one was our probably the most boring one, but still that was like decent. Like the
Yeah,
like this season's worst tribal council is decent compared to a bunch of other seasons that have stinkers and then
it's
like
like,
you're finding some diamonds in the rough. Like I feel like that's what we were doing.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, so I think it's point. Let's go to our good old fave confessional counts.
Yes, yes. So Jay Maya goes out of the game with 11 confessionals. So she at least made it to double digits.
Yes,
So good for her. But the new leader for confessionals is Caleb at 37 confessionals.
makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, he got 9 confessionals this episode. But right behind still is Emily with 36 confessionals. She got 4. Um, and then let's see. It looks like we got Drew at 27. He's in third. Austin is the next with 25 confessionals. And then we got some 19s. We got D at 19. We got Bruce at 19. He's skyrocketed a bunch. He got 10
Oh yeah, he had
confessionals.
he had a lot of
Yeah.
great coverage this time around.
Yeah, exactly. And then we got Kelly with 19 confessionals. Then we got Katura with 18 confessionals. Still maybe like 15 or 16 of those go to Bruce, in my opinion.
Yeah,
um, and also Kendra has 18 confessionals. And then it looks like the next highest amount is Jake with 14 confessionals.
okay,
And then we got Julie with 13 confessionals. And then in last, we got Sifu with 10.
okay, yeah. Sifu, like, I feel like he's one of those characters where his presence just
Yeah.
speaks for itself.
Yeah. He,
Um,
he can be in one scene, and that scene he is going to be, the
yeah,
focal points. Like everyone's eyes are going to get drawn to Sifu, and he like some of his the episodes he's only had like one confessional. This episode he only had one confessional, but it felt
yeah.
like he was in the episode.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, confessionals. It is one of those things where, because I do keep it, because we talk about them, and because, like, it is something that, it helps shape the narrative of the season, where we keep that in mind, because, like, it was like, oh, are we having another like Ned Stark moment? Uh, let's just,
Yeah.
or should we just call it a Sabia?
Yeah.
So it's like more applicable here. If you guys haven't seen Game of Thrones this season, it's the first season. Basically, they decapitate the main character, and everyone's like, "Well, oh, okay."
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It basically sets
so
the tone for the rest of the show that anyone can go at any moment.
yeah, so yeah, so like I think for our channel, being Sabia, where you have like the most confessionals and a lot of coverage, and then you're just like eliminated. So, oh
Yeah.
dang.
Yeah,
Um,
Sabia went out with 22 confessionals, which is still more than most people in the game so far.
Just insane. And that was episode 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so imagine if she was still going, she would probably be the confessional leader still.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah. Yeah. So yeah. All right. So LVP and MVP. I still MVP other than the stick bug. The stick bug
yeah.
deserves, he gets an honorary
Honorary.
MVP.
Yeah.
Because it's the mergatory one, it's important. I'm not legit just gonna give it to it.
Yeah.
MVP, it's tough because like there are some things where I'm like, Caleb kind of deserves it, but at the same time, he kind of put himself in that position that he
Yeah.
had to play it. Um,
Yeah.
I kind of want to also say maybe Bruce, but at the same time, how is he actually going to perform later on? But it was like a really good episode for him specifically.
Interesting. I actually have him in consideration for LVP.
I mean, it's tough to say when you find like an idol.
Yeah.
Um,
I just feel like we saw him socially having a lot more trouble with connecting and like being like there was a very clear moment where he didn't really like no one wanted to really talk to him. I think he was
yeah,
safe because he was on the immune side, but I do think that we got even more coverage of other people now not liking Bruce. Like I think it's spreading like wildfire. Um
yeah,
and I think he's not really doing anything to stop it.
yeah. And I'm not gonna make him MVP either. I was
Yeah,
just like being like, well, I mean, like for
yeah.
all things considered, he had a decent episode. Uh, I would give it to Austin, but that might spoil something for what I'm going to do for LVP.
Mhm.
Uh, but I mean, like, even then, like Austin, he strengthened his Ild, he won immunity, and he got rid of one of his targets and got revenge for the fallen
The
sandwiches that
sandwiches.
they probably just gave to three
Yeah.
interns.
Imagine like someone had to have that for their lunch or dinner or whatever, and but they could have had the option of having like actual good food, but we get sandwiches that have been out there for a few hours that are
I'm pretty sure the PAs didn't like. I'm pretty sure that, like, when they were like about halfway or three-fourths up the hill, they were like, all right, we'll put them out so they're still like relatively cold, because like honestly, how long were they gonna debate amulet or sandwich?
who
I don't
knows?
think
It seemed like a hot button issue.
it was, but I don't think it really exceeded 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, I just enjoy thinking of some sad PAs who have to eat a very naturally toasted sandwich.
And sometimes sometimes they still slap. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
um
Yeah, I think Austin is a good choice. I am giving it to Caleb. I just feel like for the first time, Shot in the Dark was used successfully.
yeah, it's hard
Uh,
not to.
and it's on the merge vote, which is the most important votes that you can do in the game. Like, and I think that's the most votes negated
'11, yeah, I think so, yeah,
in
because I think
Survivor.
because I know Wentworth, I think it was 9.
Yeah, I think she had 9, and I don't think anyone's beaten it since.
Oh.
So
Um,
that is a survivor record for Caleb.
so yeah, like that's why I'm like, and no one else is really, besides the ones I named, really come to mind. So I'm
Mhm.
probably gonna give it to Caleb as well.
Yeah, yeah, and take it while you can, because I don't know how well Caleb's going to survive in this game moving forward. So,
Yeah, you just establish yourself as a mega threat who basically live because of plot, uh,
yeah,
plot armor.
yeah.
Uh,
I wonder if they were like, "Oh, Caleb's going to use this thing. Let's like put a bunch of safes in here." So,
no, no.
uh,
As for
okay,
LVP, Olive Reba, 'cause they don't fucking understand math, and no one suggested, hey, Kelly kind of does the same thing, except 'cause they didn't realize that, Jay Maya wasn't going to actually betray them and hasn't really considered doing so and was very Reba strong. And it's just like,
yeah.
y'all were stupid. And I'm pretty sure it cost all of you the game.
uh, Interesting choice there. The entire Reba tribe. I'm going with Bruce. I am choosing him. I just think I think he's going to be one of the next three people gone. Whether he is in this double boot, which is I think is possible, or if he plays as idol, I think he's then the next person to go at the tribal council.
I think it's very
Assuming there's no Caleb immunity runs, that or at least immunity for like this go and then take him out after the double
yeah.
elimination.
Yeah. It's always and it's tough to say. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
It's also those one thing too. It doesn't seem like if we're talking about strategy level, I'm not saying like obviously we've been loving this season, and I'm
uh-huh.
not saying like they're having bad gameplay at all. But it's like if we're talking about they are definitely playing chess,
Yeah.
but they are not playing 3D chess or 4D chess like sometimes we see. So we're not seeing
Mhm.
like the meat shield strategy yet. We're not seeing like the double threat or triple threat alliance where we all keep together because as soon as one of us goes the other's free game
Uh-huh.
or like or like what or basically what Vlakos was saying was like the hyenas and the lions
Mhm.
or like the like big alliances that are really like two very strong leaders that are going out, like it's a very, I don't want to say straightforward, but like like the gameplay. Like I said, it's chess.
Yeah.
There's definitely strategy being played here, and it
Yeah.
is like they are thinking their options through, but it's not like 4D chess.
Yeah, I think they're playing a lot more on a personal level, not necessarily like
Yeah,
just like I hate this person, but it feels more like they're finding actual reasons besides the gameplay. Like they're
she's a
think
singer. She's an artist.
she took
Ew.
she took Austin sandwiches. That was the thing that was the catalyst, was the fact that she refused to budge on the
Yeah,
amulets. I think I said that last week. I think
yeah.
that was a terrible, like she should have been the first person saying sandwiches, and she was not. And
No, it's
it's
like, but it's like you want to be able to play the game and use advantages, but like yeah, in that situation, sandwiches were kind of the way to go.
Yeah,
But
I would love to see if the auction comes back, then bring out those sandwiches.
just have it, it's covered.
Uh,
No, no, no. Here's the thing. It's covered. And then Austin spends $500 for the exact same sandwiches that have not been refrigerated or anything.
yeah.
There's mold and shit. It's like, here you go. Here are the sandwiches you wanted. And here's the smoothie too that was there. Or no, it was orange
Oh,
juice.
orange juice, orange juice.
Here's the orange juice. It's now a mimosa,
Yeah,
basically, because
yeah,
of fermentation.
yeah. It would be great if Austin and Kelly got chip in together and they get to have their sandwiches and be like, this is
Yeah.
what should have happened.
Yep. Yeah, that's another thing that I think that's cool about Austin. Like I know I'm like Reba and mad at them, but like at the same time, it's like, it is very like a anime protagonist thing. And he kind of described himself as an anime protagonist to think about food and some of your decisions
Yeah.
in life in a $1 million game is based off of food.
Yeah. Hey, I'm here for it. This is honestly maybe one of my favorite storylines this season is the Austin and
It
revenge
has its
storyline.
charm. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
It's so funny. It's ridiculous. This is what we missed, I think, in a lot of new school Survivor seasons is because it's
yeah,
so it feels like you get like 15 or 16 people out there who are like game bots. Like they're
yeah,
just zoned in on the strategy, just leave everything else at the door, and that's it. And it just feels like this season has just way more people who are people and not
yeah,
thinking purely off of a strategy.
yeah. Well, I mean, there's always strategy, but
Yeah.
like I said, chess strategy, not 40 chess strategy.
Yeah,
But as long as we're being entertained and it's good, I'm all for it.
exactly. So yeah, that does it for this episode. We're really kicking into the, next gear here to see how the season progresses because some seasons can have a great pre-merge, terrible merge, vice versa. And so I'm curious to see this season continue with this amount of steam.
I think it's, I think I'm just gonna say, like, it's just been good so far.
Yeah.
So I think, the rest of the season's still gonna be pretty good.
Yeah, I'm still looking forward to this auction. That's
Oh
the
yeah.
biggest thing I want.
We
To
haven't
see.
had it in over 10 years.
Yeah, yeah. Like I'll have just nights where I'm on YouTube or something, and
Oh
I
wait,
just end
not
up
10
watching.
years, like 8 years. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Not since season 30. And honestly, that one it felt like it was more of a condensed, like it's because they just didn't like what happened with it, and they kind of broke the
Yeah.
game. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, there'll be nights on YouTube where I just end up watching a bunch of the Survivor auctions because they're just, dumb fun to see the Survivor players. It's not about you don't have to know exactly where they are in the season. It's just a lot of fun. Like
It's just
just let us have fun, Survivor.
it, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
those are nice little great breaths of fresh air.
yeah. Exactly, and it's so fun watching people, like, get so excited over foods. Like,
Especially paying, $500 for a peanut butter sandwich or something like that.
yeah, yeah, or a 4 for pizza. I mean, it's like
$400 shower.
yeah, so I'm excited for it. It's definitely, gonna be nice to see it come. It's gonna suck, though, if we don't get it, if that gavel was just for just as a
No,
tease.
no. I feel like it's one of the things you have a longer time. You're clearly
Yeah,
not putting too much effort in your rewards anyway.
yeah. Yeah, I'm just hoping that they weren't like, "Man, this episode that we planned this auction for, is actually, like, super complex, and we don't have the time for it now because we need to show so much."
Oh, you're good. You're good. I mean, like Survivor, you know what you're doing. You're good.
Yeah,
You can
yeah,
show the auction thing.
yeah.
Um, but yeah,
I'd rather people be confused about the vote off, honestly, and just keep keep the auction.
I think we would. I think we sacrifice personal moments or little funny moments as opposed to. But then
Yeah,
again, like we said, the auction is funny, so we get that those human moments they've been putting
yeah,
in these episodes, but it would
yeah,
just be the auction.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So yeah, that does it here. Ryan's still on the podcast and not freaking out too much over the J Maya stuff. It still is a shot through the heart.
It
Uh,
is.
but
Like, it's one of the things where it was just, like, a stab in the chest because I knew it was happening, and then, like, each little thing, they were, like, twisting it, twisting it. Oh, it might actually be Caleb, or it won't be. Oh, we played Deshaun in the dark. Yeah, it's safe. You screwed. Oh, all the things were for,
Caleb,
all the votes went to Caleb. Second knife.
yeah, it was. This is definitely a great episode.
Yeah, I agree.
This is Survivor firing on all cylinders, in my opinion.
Agree. Agree.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's gonna do it, and I guess we will see you in the next one.
Peace.